What is on tap at Couz's Corner today? We're talking Notre Dame and have they made their decision on whether or not to join a conference, specifically the Big Ten. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let's talk about it. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz, and welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. So pull that chair up, sit back, relax, and let me serve you up this shot of top shelf college football knowledge. Yes, we're talking about Notre Dame. According to a report in Sports Business Journal, Mr. John Alran reported that he had sources telling him that Notre Dame is inching closer to reaching a deal with NBC for $60 million annually as part of their TV contract. Now, he didn't say how many years that would be for, but $60 million is a huge bump from the $25 million they're at now. Now, it's not the $75 million they requested, and according to Alran's article, the reason they won't get the $75 million is because they have a few games on their schedule, like Navy, for example, that don't move the needle that much and don't get very good ratings. So NBC did not see it valued at 75, but we're willing to give them 60. Now, the 60 is probably less than what they would make in the Big Ten. The Big Ten hasn't announced their final deal yet, so we don't know exactly what it's going to be for, but estimates are anywhere between 70, 80, even up to $100 million per team per year. So 60 is not that number. However, Notre Dame, we all know because of their number of endowments they get, the amount of the endowments they get the Catholic involvement in the Catholic Church. They don't necessarily need that much money to be successful. Okay. And they are willing to take 60 million to keep their independence and keep their relationship going with NBC. Now, what that also means is we could see more games against Big Ten opponents because remember, previous reports talked about how the Big Ten is going to be aligned with NBC as part of their new media package as well. And the Big Ten would have shoulder programming to go along with Notre Dame on the NBC network. Notre Dame sees that as valuable, according to some reports. And that could also mean Notre Dame will play more games against Big Ten teams, notably Michigan. We could see the renewal of the Michigan-Notre Dame rivalry, as reported according to Mr. Alran in that same article. Michigan and Notre Dame hasn't played since 2019. They're not scheduled to play again until 2033, but this deal could mean that they play each other before that. So that would be good for both of those schools, and in my opinion, good for the sport of college football because that's a historic rivalry that goes back decades, and it would be good to see that game played again on Saturdays. Now, does this mean the Big Ten is done expanding? In my opinion, now this is strictly my opinion, I think it does for now. Obviously, none of us know the answer to that question, but I just don't see any team outside of Notre Dame. I don't see Washington. I don't see Oregon adding value to the Big Ten that wouldn't dilute the payout to the other schools. I don't see Oregon or Washington being worth 70 to $80 million a year. I really don't. Nothing against those programs. They're great programs. They're valuable programs. But I don't think they're going to bring 80 to $100 million a year. And the other schools currently in the Big Ten are not going to want to dilute their payout. So I don't see those teams being added. Stanford, the only reason I see them adding Stanford is maybe to get Stanford's academics on board and maybe to get all that Stanford endowment money as part of the conference. But as far as TV revenue goes, they also don't bring 70 to 80 million a year, in my opinion. The only team to me that would even come close would be Clemson, and they're in the ACC, and they're locked into that ironclad grant of rights deal. It seems, and honestly, if Clemson ever joins another conference, I think it'll be the SEC, not the Big Ten. But there again, I don't see that happening anytime soon because of that ironclad grant of rights deal. I don't see anybody breaking that grant of rights deal, folks. If grant of rights deals weren't ironclad, do you think Texas and Oklahoma would be staying in the Big 12 till 2025? I don't. So therefore, these deals are not easy to get out of, and I don't see it happening. Now, is conference expansion overall done? Possibly, but I don't think so. It still would not surprise me to see the Pac-12, which is now the Pac-10, I guess, go out and add a couple of teams to replace USC and UCLA. They could go get a San Diego State, could go get a Fresno State, could go get an SMU, somebody like that. Who knows? I'm sure they're waiting to see what kind of numbers ESPN comes back to them with and other networks that they might get involved with to see if it's worthwhile for them to do that. And I wouldn't rule out the Big 12 expanding more. They could go out and get an SMU or San Diego State as well, or somebody like that. Or, you know, I think Arizona and Colorado, some of those schools could still be at play here for the Big 12. I think that's a long shot at this point because I think those schools have made it clear they prefer to stay together in the Pac 10 if the money works. But if they get back a number from ESPN that they think is just not doable and they can't work with, they might decide to go to the Big 12. But I don't see that as the most likely scenario, to be honest with you. The most likely thing I see happening is honestly is both conferences staying where they are. Pac-12 going back to the Pac-10, being at 10 teams. The Big 12 staying where they are and just finding other ways to increase revenue other than expansion. Now, back to Notre Dame. What do I think about this for Notre Dame? Here's my thoughts on the Notre Dame situation. I've always had a deep disdain for Notre Dame because I felt like they looked down their nose at other schools. I felt like they thought they were better than everybody else. But this whole conference realignment deal and the way Notre Dame is handling this is actually making me respect them a little bit, and I'll tell you why. They're not selling out. They know who they are. They have their personal values that they abide by. They are they adhere strictly to their Catholic Church roots and their beliefs in that Catholic Church system and those Catholic Church values, whether you agree with that or not. And they aren't willing to sell out those values and those beliefs and their value of independence to go join a conference just for $20 extra million a year. I admire that. I think we need more of that in today's society. Now, does that mean Notre Dame won't eventually join the conference or the Big Ten? No, I don't. I think they could eventually join the conference. The one thing I think that might make them join the conference is if they didn't have a path to the college football playoff. However, with the conversations we've heard recently about the conference football playoff likely expanding to 12 or heck now maybe even 16 teams, I don't see Notre Dame losing their path to the playoff, especially with Greg Sankey now saying he doesn't want automatic qualifiers for the conference college football playoff. So if there are no automatic and then we're not saying that he's going to get his way here, but he is saying that would be his preference. So if they don't have automatic qualifiers and it's all at-large bids, then Notre Dame's path to the playoff gets even easier. If they expand it to 12 or 16 and it's all at-large bids, then Notre Dame still has that path to the playoff. With the kind of schedule they like to play, playing Big Ten teams, ACC teams, they would still have a path to the playoff with 12 or 16 teams and no automatic qualifiers. So if that's the case, and they can make $60 million a year as an independent, plus all the endowment money they're making, why join a conference? They might come out sitting prettier than the teams in a conference at the end of the day. Because remember, they don't have to split the college football playoff money with any other teams. It goes directly in their pocket. So Notre Dame could come out of this deal better off than they were in the beginning without joining the conference. Think about that, folks. And I kind of respect them for that. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think Notre Dame will stay independent, at least for the foreseeable future? And what do you think about Notre Dame? Do you respect them more for sticking with their values and their beliefs and their desire to be independent? Or do you not agree with that? Do you still think it shows that Notre Dame has an elitist attitude? If you think that, I respect your opinion. I want to hear it in the comment section. Also, folks, don't forget to check out my merch store. I've got a brand new design to offer you in my merch store. It's on the screen right now. If you are a resident of the state of West Virginia, or you're from the state of West Virginia, or you're a West Virginia fan, this West Virginia versus the world line of merchandise is just for you. Also, another way you can support my channel financially is you can hit the join button right below, become a member of my channel, take advantage of some perks I have to offer, which includes, if you're a Mountaineer Maniac level member, it includes discounts on the merch with a special link I can give you. Last but not least, if you want to support my channel, absolutely 100% free. There's 4 ways you can do it. You can like this video, share this video, leave a comment underneath, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And don't forget the red notification bell, which keeps you notified of future videos and future live streams. With that being said, Kuz's Corner family, I appreciate you tuning into this video. And until the next one, Q Country Roads.